Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take on this beautiful Thursday morning for Market Rebellion. I got to tell you something. Yesterday, really interesting. It just shows you how the market's memory is so short and always forward looking. So we begin with yesterday. Yesterday, we start off the day up 200, up 300. Next thing you know, we're up 400. Before you know it, there's a point in the session where we're up over 500 points. We did ease back off of that, still finished up well over 300 points on the Dow yesterday. NASDAQ absolutely screaming to the upside as well. In the first hour or so, a very, very similar path without any pullbacks whatsoever. It just seemed like it just had this great trajectory all day long. Up as much as 200 plus points, finished of the day up about 140 points, but a really nice rebound for the markets, especially considering how much pain the markets were taking the other day. Oh, and the volatility that had spiked the other day. Volatility yesterday, 21 to 23 and a half, closed right around 21. How long will we stay above 20? We've already got that answer. Crude, by the way, up around 72. You look over at the 10-year, absolutely not budging around too much at all. It was 133 yesterday. Bitcoin up a little bit, up about 2-3% to the upside, trading 43,500. Today it's back up over 44,000. Volumes yesterday were great. Again, volume 37.8 million contracts yesterday, really well distributed as well. So it was another big monstrous day in the derivatives markets. What was really leading the charge? Start to finish, energy. Energy has been on this great run. And when we talk about energy, we really do oftentimes focus here on, because it's what we're here for, we want the biggest and the best, right? Well, the biggest and the best aren't necessarily in market cap. I'm talking about with that beta. Those beta names were absolutely rocking yesterday with energy up almost 4%, which is a huge move for one of those sectors. You had Apache, we had Diamondback, we had Occidental, which, by the way, had some paper in, again, Devon, we had Marathon, we had ConocoPhillips. We're looking at names that were up anywhere from 5.5% to 8% yesterday. So a huge build right there as we talk about those beta names. You can see that energy up 4%. All these names up well over that and then some. As a matter of fact, in some cases, double that. Financials, really, really solid performance yesterday, up about 2%. You had technology up about 1.5% or so. Semiconductors, nice big comeback. The semiconductors kind of fell asleep for a little while, and we're pulling back just a bit, which makes some sense. They had just hit new all-time highs not too terribly long ago. But the semis up about 2%. Chinese names with a little bit of a bid yesterday. Taking a look at JD and PDD, those names really did stand out, up 4%, up 3.5%. So Chinese names with a little bit of a lift. Boeing, 4.5% to the upside. But you know what didn't continue this big run? Peloton. We've been talking about this name. It just seems to be somewhere close to that $100 level. Kind of bounces up above it like it did just the other day. Pulls right back again now towards that 95, 96 area. But that just shows you just the differences in the markets and where people are starting to shift money around. So Peloton has been volatile, but essentially it just feels like $100 seems to be that magnet. All right. So post-Fed, we had the Fed late afternoon yesterday. Post-Fed, looks like people really like the interpretations not only from yesterday, but coming into today, because you take a look. Market started off in the pre-market up over 200 points. We had the NASDAQ up about 80 points. It's just grown and swelled and continued to move to the upside, up 300 points, up 400 points. First half hour, we up more than 400 points. And before we came on, we were up about 460, 470 on the Dow. As a matter of fact, NASDAQ, same path, and that was up about 145 points right before we came on. The volatility index, I mentioned that already. Yep, immediately pulled right back underneath 20. And here we are trading somewhere just south of 19. Will we next be seeing 16, 17 again? That's a really strong possibility. But I'll tell you what, crude just continues this path to the upside. It actually was pushing on 73, might have pulled back a little bit off of that number. The 10-year, 136, up a little bit. I don't know that we're going to be jumping up and down or not, but definitely seeing that reaction reflected in the financials as well. Financials were up about 1% early. They were up by 1.7% in the first half hour or so. Now up about 2%. You take a look at materials, that actually was up about 1%, now up about 1.5%. Then you go over to energy. Again, up about 0.5%. then 1.5%, then 2%. And we just had this great move. And again, it's broad. It's very similar to that push to the downside the other day where we were down nearly 1,000 points. That was a very broad, all sectors participating in that move. Well, we're seeing many of the sectors participating in this move to the upside, including technology, including biotech, including semiconductors. So there's a couple of names out there. Oh, and by the way, every sector was green when we kicked off today. But got a couple of really interesting stocks that I just had to highlight for you guys. And Novavax is one of them. It's a late one because I all of a sudden take a look over it. It's up 11%. They've got their COVID vaccine idea. They're trying to get it through, all that kind of thing. That's an exciting process and obviously reflected by what that move is today. Darden Restaurants with a nice strong move to the upside today. It was up 5.5%. Last I looked, it was up over 8%. We had also Salesforce. That's another one that you just keep on giving. This has been a great trade, continuous. It's part of the Dow, up 3.5%. Last I looked, up 4.5%. Airlines were up early, even though Delta had a little bit of a downgrade, I believe. Airlines were still moving in a positive direction to the upside when I looked across Delta and Southwest and United and all these different names. Cruise ships as well. I'll tell you what, CCL and Norwegian Cruise Line, again, those were back in positive as well. So a really nice, solid participation across the board. Now, a couple of unusuals, and then I'm going to get out of here. I've got the halftime show today, so we'll have two different unusuals there, and maybe even covering some of the other stocks out there that are going to be reporting earnings. We'll see how things flush out when we get on the show. SoFi is number one. This one was trading up around 17 bucks, a little bit more. It's the third time this week that SoFi has hit with unusual option activity. It started when the stock was trading underneath 15, and it continues today when the stock was actually up and over 17. So what were they buying? 14,000, really, really short term. These expire tomorrow, so it's got to happen today or tomorrow. But they bought 14,000 of the 18 calls. Stock's going to have to continue this move that it's already been on this great path, but it's going to have to continue and extend out further for these to actually play out. 13 cents to 25 cents for those options. Next, Boeing. Now, Boeing trading just underneath 220. It was actually just underneath 219 at the time of this buyer. But again, 14,000. They bought the September 24th expiring. Yes, that's tomorrow. 220 calls. So not looking for a huge move necessarily, but looking for a continuation move for Boeing to actually move up and over and through 220. Those options are going for 83 cents up to about $1.60. So 14,000 of those trade. That's a nice size trade. We continue to see a lot of incredible activity. Today we've got so much, I had to really go through it and decide which ones made the most sense. We always talk about short term. This shows you just how short term trading has become oftentimes in the markets that we're in today. And you can understand why. Look at how fast we have rebounded from the down nearly 1,000. We did finish that day down a little over 600, but we've already erased those numbers. So it just shows you how fast things can move. It's just amazing sometimes. Derivatives markets are absolutely delivering. These options, the unusual options, have been absolutely something to admire, and we're really excited at Market Rebellion. And later on today, you're going to get a chance to see myself and AJ kind of going through some rapid fire options as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. We'll see you at noon.